Hey, what's up everyone? It's Count Chocula back with another Marvel Heroes build video. This time we're going to be focusing on Blade. Let me zoom in here so you can get a better look at him. Right now I've got him equipped with the original 1970s costume from the Tomb of Dracula, Werewolf by Night. A lot of players in this game didn't realize that Blade was even a Marvel character. When I was looking at the social chat when the character first came out, and they were like, Blade's Marvel? And like, yeah, he was actually created back in the mid 70s and as part of their horror comics. He wasn't like a main character or anything. He was just kind of a side character. It's kind of like a cross between Van Helsing and Shaft. But anyway, I'm a little nostalgic when it comes to my comic books, so I pre-ordered the character and he came with two costumes. I can throw the modern, more recognizable costume on him. Looks more like Wesley Snipes from the movie. Anyway, I decided to go with the other costume. It looks pretty cool either way. So let me actually put back on the. I have my Prometheum core on the other costume, so let me put that back on. So anyway, let's get right into it. Let's go ahead and go to Blade's power trees and reset all his powers like I like to do here for these videos. I'm going to empty out the action bar here. Now I'll show you step by step which moves from which trees that I put on my bar. So I have 165 power points available. So let's start off with the Vampire Hunter tree. This is a melee based tree, and you get a default point into hack and slash. That is a basic melee power. Blade uses spirit. He is a spirit spender. This does not use spirit, and if you build him right, you can actually regenerate spirit when you use this ability. The way I have him built, I very rarely run out of spirit, so you might have a chance to run out of spirit against a single target, but against a group of enemies you probably won't with this build. But anyway, let's go ahead and max out hack and slash. Confirm that. It's not a main move that I use. Like I said, I just use it when I'm running low on spirit. I always put that in my left, put that one on my left mouse click. Next is Whiplash. This is a very important move. This is your main damaging move. You can run around. You can have your character kind of run around and attack at the same time, making him a very mobile character. I'm going to max this out. I'm going to do everything I can to get Whiplash maxed. I'm going to confirm that. It's very important. What this is it's a melee area bleed, damage over time. They call it grievous wounds. And another thing with Blade, to stack attack speed, the higher your attack speed, the more damage that Whiplash will do. For every percent attack speed you have, you'll get a plus 1% damage with this power. So it also makes enemies deal 10% less damage for 8 seconds. It does have an ongoing spirit cost of 19 per second, but you can regenerate a lot of that with this build. So I'll get into that a little bit later when I talk about artifacts. Let's go down to advanced technique. Blade has two signatures. He has a melee signature and a range signature. I didn't like the range signature at all. I had a hard time hitting the targets with it. I do like the melee signature. It's more against single targets. I mean, it'll do pretty well against an area, but it's got a 40-second cooldown, so I don't use it a whole lot. I use it basically against bosses. Let's put that on the bar here. And as always with the signatures, it shares the power synergy with how many points you have allotted into the ultimate power. Blade's ultimate power is called Just Stay Down, and I've got it up to rank 11, so I get a plus 11% damage with advanced technique because of that. So that's about it for the Vampire Hunter tree. Let's go over to the tools of the trade. This is a range tree, and I really don't use much out of here. I tried a range build with Blade. I didn't really care for it. I prefer the melee. I did a range build to try to get through the Cosmic Trial, like on maybe the third or fourth day I had the character, and I just was struggling with it. And I had no problem getting through the Cosmic Trial with the melee build, so I went with the melee build. Uh, One move I do use out of here, the ranged area, is Hyper Toxin Grenade. Blade has 2 grenade moves, and the good thing about it is they don't share a cooldown. That's a beautiful thing. So let's go ahead and put this down on the bar. And what this does is it gives physical damage. It also charges the enemies. So when the enemies die, they explode and damage everybody around them. So it's pretty cool. And like I said, it does share a cooldown with another ability, but it's not the other grenade ability. That's why I use them back to back. So that's the only move we're going to be using out of the tools of trade. So it makes it kind of easy. Let's go to the Daywalker tree. I'll be talking about the serum last. This is Blade's buff. It's also one of his passives, and it also has 3 specializations, and I'll talk about that. I'm going to be using Deadly Dash. This is just a melee movement ability. You know, it gives you dodge rating, and it gives physical damage, dodge rating. It's got a low spirit cost. You can kind of get around the battlefield with it pretty well, so let's confirm that. I always put that on my right. Try to put my movement power on the right mouse click. Next is his movement, just to get around. It's called the Ride. It's Blade's motorcycle. I just put 1 point into that and confirm. And I put that down on the bar. Here is his passive that I do not put down on the bar. It's called Long Lived. It's really good for melee. I will be maxing this passive out. And the main thing about this passive is that it restores it restores health when you hit, and it doubles the amount of health that it restores if you hit with a melee power. So that's pretty nice. I do max that out. And I use UV Grenade. This is the other grenade move I was talking about. And like I said, it doesn't share a cooldown, so it's kind of nice. What UV Grenade does, let me confirm that and put it on the bar. Excuse me. UV Grenade says ranged area. I like to use it around a group of enemies. It's physical damage, but it also makes the enemies vulnerable. The enemies take 10% damage, plus 10% damage for 8 seconds. And it has a shared cooldown with a different move in this tree, but it's not the other grenades. So I throw these back to back. I throw the UV grenade first. It stuns enemies for about 4 seconds, makes them take plus 10% damage for 8 seconds, and then I hit them with the hypertoxin grenade, which does more damage, and then it also charges the enemies for explosion damage when they die. And last but not least is the serum, and I am going to max out the serum. Probably going to have some points left over. I maxed the serum. I'm going to put my remaining points into the Ride. And let's put the serum on the bar. The serum does go on the bar. And as you can see right here, the serum has a passive effect. It has an active effect. The passive effect is just max health, dodge rating, defense rating. It also gives you a free revive. It regenerates 100% of your maximum health and spirit when you're defeated, and the cooldown's 5 minutes on that. So basically every 5 minutes you get a free revive, where you can just go all out and play a little bit more risky, because you know that you're gonna, if you die once, within 5 minutes you'll be able to revive instantly. It says you and your allies gain Constitution, restoring 210 health per second. So that's kind of nice for raids and everything. The active effect is you regenerate 15% of your maximum health on any use, and an additional 30 for a 45% total if you are starving, and I'll explain that in a minute. Restore 20% of your maximum spirit. It fully removes your thirst, gives you plus 20% damage, attack and move speed plus 20%. The buff duration is 3 seconds plus an additional 5 seconds if activated when starving. Now what they're talking about on the starving is this little red bar down here. It's not red yet, but it fills up with a red graphic. When it fills up, it means Blade is starving. Now in the comic books, Blade has all the benefits of being a vampire and very few drawbacks. But the one drawback that he does have is that he still craves human blood, and they invented a serum. They invented a serum that they inject into him that kind of substitutes as human blood. When he's craving the human blood, he becomes weak. So they kind of implicated that little scenario into the game where when you're doing damage, the more you fight, the more your thirst grows, and when your thirst bar gets all the way full, Blade starts losing health at, I think it's 5% of your max health per second, and he starts doing less damage. So it's a weakened condition, and you have to hit the serum to get rid of that thirst. Now there's 3 specializations with that. There's one called In Control where none of that happens. You're just basically using the serum like a little damage buff and a little bit of a health and spirit regen. Your thirst never increases in Control, and it's more of a safer way to play, because remember, when your thirst bar gets full, you start losing health at a pretty rapid pace. Plus, if you're fighting a lot of enemies, say you're in Cosmic Midtown, you're going to be losing a lot of health fast. So then you have Only When Necessary, and basically this still means you're building, when you're doing damage, your thirst bar increases, and when it gets, if you hit the serum within 6 seconds of that thirst bar filling up, then you'll get a instantly reset the cooldowns of all non-signature powers. You restore 30% of your maximum spirit. So you also gain an active effect of 5 seconds if you go into this specialization mode here. It's called Only When Necessary. You know, this is basically trying to never get your thirst bar full. You know, you always want to wait until the last second to get your thirst bar full, so you're not taking the health drain. I don't use either one of these. What I use is Never Sated. Let me go ahead and click that. Now, what Never Sated does, and I'll just demonstrate it here. Let me go over to the sparring targets. If I click off of and I don't have any specialization, hit these, as you can see, the thirst bar there down toward the bottom is filling up. But it's filling up pretty slow. I mean, I did a lot of damage there. And since it's damage over time, it's still filling up, but it took quite a while. Let's go ahead and cancel that out with the serum. Now, if I go Never Sated, it's going to fill up a lot faster. I go in there, and it basically doubles the time. Basically, it makes it fill up twice as fast, I should say. So as you can see, it was already filled up, and I already gained, right here, it's down here, you gain stacks of Bloodlust when you're in Never Sated. I'm at 10 stacks of Bloodlust. As you can see, my health is going down. Now, with these stacks of Bloodlust, this happens when you're using your damage over time abilities. So let me go ahead and cancel those out. As you can see, those stacks went away. Now, what that means is when I'm in Never Sated, your thirst increases 100% faster when you use Grievous Wounds effects. Basically, when you're doing damage over time. Damage is no longer reduced while starving, and increases health regen on hit while starving by 50%. When you hit an enemy when starving, you gain a stack of Bloodlust. There's a 1 second cooldown, 10 stacks maximum. When the serum is activated, all stacks are consumed to increase damage by 5% and critical brutal damage by 10% per stack for 8 seconds. You also recover 15 spirit on hit while starving. So your health is draining a lot faster, but you don't have any of the you're not in your weakened condition. You don't get any kind of penalty on your damage or health regen or anything like that. So this is to me the way to play, because you can use other means to also negate the effect of that health drain. You can use your you can use your insignias, relics, and artifacts to negate that health drain. And as soon as you get to the 10 stacks, you want to hit the serum, because you're going to get that big increase in damage and attack speed and movement speed. So it's like a little buff, while you're in your weakened condition. It's pretty nice. So that was the whiplash power. This is the whip over time. It's like a stake on the end of a chain. I can show some of the others. We've got the one. Here's the just the normal hack and slash. I think I've worn out those targets. There's the normal just hack and slash. It doesn't cost any spirit. You've got UV grenade. You can throw these back to back. So you can see the little red aura on the targets. They're not going to explode because these targets don't actually die like normal enemies. And then you've got the signature move here, and you have to hit the signature move 3 times. Right there. And I've already, as you can see, my health is going down. I've already filled up my thirst bar, so I'm in a 10 stack starving. I'm in a starving condition. You can see the graphic on the screen, the little red blood looking graphic on the screen. Your character won't die from this, but it will go down to minimum health. So just as soon as you get to 10 stacks on the bloodlust and the little buff window down here, go ahead and hit the serum. So you can see I got a big increase. The thirst bar went away. The stacks went away as well. But I also get an increase in damage. Let me try to yeah, those are already gone. And you can really tell the increase when you have the 10 stacks of bloodlust and you hit the serum. You can really, for 8 seconds, you can really tell that your character's attacking faster, doing more damage. So it's really nice. It's like a little buff that you can basically do over and over. Here is the motorcycle. It's more of an old style motorcycle. If I change my costume, you're gonna get the modern motorcycle. For Blade, more of the crotch rocket. It's got a cool little headlight. It looks really good in the darker environments. And let's see if I can't do the ultimate called Just Stay Down. Here's the ultimate. He just basically goes off, flipping around with his guns and Uzis, and there he throws some grenades out. So it's a pretty good ultimate. I've got it ranked up to 11 right now. So basically that does it for the powers. Let's look at the gear. The gear I have, start off in the one slot. I've got Hannibal King's hand cannon. You will get this if you play the character and you use the UV grenade as you kill 100 enemies using the UV grenade as a finisher, which is going to happen, over time. They give you Hannibal King's hand cannon as the reward for that achievement. So gives you plus fighting. It also has a 5% chance to hit when you hit to trigger an ultraviolet explosion that deals energy damage around your target. And I'm buffing everything with a +2 attack speed that I can on my equipment. I'm for the challenge bonuses, I'm using usually +1 fighting and +1 speed, because +1 speed also increases your attack speed, which is important for buffing up your whiplash. Using the original coat, Sash of the Ronin. My 4th spot, I'm using Batroc Savat boots. This is optional. This isn't. I'm not saying this is best in slot, but this gives me attack speed. Anything you can use to buff your attack speed is good for this character. +2 fighting, +2 speed. Everything I have is ranked the level 69, item grade 69, and my last spot I've got Eric Brooks custom glaive. You might want to just play around with the uniques. There might be something better. I think from time to time, instead of Hannibal King's hand cannon, I was using the Fire Giant sword that you can craft, because it does it summons the Fire Giant for one, but you can also it also has something to do with bleed. Anything that buffs damage against bleeding targets is good for Blade that you're going to want. The ring is this kind of personal preference. This one is a melee. to melee, +1 fighting, +1 speed. I've got my fighting to 20, my speed to 10, my durability to 10. I might end up lowering my durability and putting them in speed. See if I can buff more speed to get more damage out of the character. Uru Force, I'm just using Heartbreaker. I really didn't know a better one. There might be a better one. I probably didn't have the runes for it. My relic is Relic of Lemuria. You can use quite a few, but this one gives health on hit. Anything that gives health on hit, spirit on hit, or does anything against bleeding targets is good for Blade. So for the legendary Savage Axe of Ares, I think this is the best one for Blade because it has 8% chance to hit to leave the enemy mortally wounded, dealing a 40,000 physical damage bleed twice per second for 5 seconds. So we're going back to the bleeding, the damage over time. Blade isn't very good against single targets. He is much better against multiple enemies because I mean the character's based on damage over time. So for my insignia, I'm using the insignia of Blade. Once again, you get health on when you physically hit, you restore health, and you get a damage buff versus bleeding targets for 8 seconds when you hit with any power. So that's really nice. Let's talk about the artifacts. The artifacts are important. One, I'm using the armor issued nano poison. You get it from the Jocasta vendor. You earn it with armor marks during the armor events. When you hit with a melee power, you infect the target with nano poison, increasing your brutal strike rating and your brutal damage rating. This can stack up to 3 times. There may be a better artifact. This one's kind of optional. I just kind of went with it. I had one, so I kind of went with it. Plus, it gives you +2 fighting and health regen per second. Couldn't really see one that was better. I have the lizard formula. Oh, by the way, I'm using the Blessing of Odin. Most people use the Hela Blessing with their artifacts, but you recover 7 spirit when you defeat an enemy, plus 5% base damage versus bosses with the Blessing of Odin. So I decided to go with the Blessing of Odin. Kind of change things up. Plus, the spirit recovery is important for Blade. Blade without spirit's pretty worthless. So you can keep the spirit going. It's the spirit regenerating. It's really good. Lizard formula I think is a must. It gives you attack speed. When you critically hit, you regenerate 100 health. When you critically hit, you recover 5 spirit. Using Whiplash with the damage over time, you're going to be critting a lot against multiple enemies. So it's like having a spirit and health regenerator right here. So I would definitely go with Lizard formula. On the medallion, I think this is the best one. It's Sabertooth. It's causes targets to bleed, and it gives you a damage rating plus versus enemies with bleeding status. You can't beat that. It gives you health regen, gives you physical defense and health. Hulkbuster physics package. This one, you can use it or not. It's kind of hard to get. It's kind of hard. It's one of the more rare artifacts. It's got a ranged and melee proc that gives you +1 fighting for 10 seconds when both are activated. Gives you some health. It says when you hit with a melee power, you gain brutal strike, and your range powers cost 2% less spirit for 10 seconds. And the flip side of that is when you hit with a range power, you gain critical hit rating, and your melee powers cost 2% less. Plus, it gives you attack speed. So, more that I think about it, this is a really good artifact for Blade. But I don't think it's a must-have. This next one is definitely best in slot for any bleeding character. Any character damage over time, bleed. And that's Sabertooth's furry mane. You get health regen. You get the damage rating versus enemies with bleed status. And when you use a bleed power, you gain critical rating for 30 seconds. It's really nice. And you'll see the indicator down in the buff window down here when you equip the Sabertooth furry mane. This artifact isn't cheap, and it's not easy to get. You can farm Sabertooth in Midtown and Doom's Castle. I believe that's the only places you can really farm the character. So This is one of the most sought after artifacts, most expensive artifacts. So it's definitely going to cost you. But I think that pretty much covers Blade. As you can see here, I'm using the symbiote spider ham. I thought it was a cool little pet to run around with me. He's kind of a smart ass. He's cracking jokes all the time. And he's doing his little symbiote move there. So, kind of looking like Venom. But anyway, that about does it for my Blade video. We can look real fast. We can look at his synergy. His synergy is health on hit and plus 3% attack speed. So that's really nice. So that's definitely, I mean, you want to get Blade just for the synergy, basically, if you don't like the character. The first couple days I played the character, I didn't really care for him. I couldn't really figure out a good build. I was getting trounced in the Cosmic Trial, and then I did a melee build, kind of switched around gear a little bit, got the right artifacts, and I breezed through the Cosmic Trial with this character just because the damage over time is so strong, and you critically hit a lot with the damage over time. The big drawback is it's not very good right here against single targets. But, you know, unless you use that, which you can get some decent brutals. But, you know, he's more against multiple enemies with the damage over time. So that about does it for Blade right now. Hope you guys liked the video. I hope you guys try out the character. He's actually become one of my more favorite characters to play in the game. But if the video helped you out, subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, put them in the comment section below. And until next time, I will talk to you guys later.